Guys, I just bought this $250,000 car in China. Let's see what it can do. Sue! The car even does the suey! Chat, the car can even dance by itself. Look. Oh, damn.
Do you guys remember when I was talking about this car over and over again? When I was like, I want this vehicle so bad. I love Speed, and I'm so glad that he turned out the way that he did, as opposed to the much different attitude that he could have demonstrated. I'm so jealous still, though. I'm very happy for him, but I'm also incredibly jealous. His China trip is literally like, it's something that I dream of. And then I wake up in cold sweats knowing that I have to live in reality where I have not done it. You will never get it. You will never experience it, and you don't deserve it. Okay, Top G. What's stopping you from doing a China trip? Work, man. Work. Look at this. It's difficult to arrange. I like how everybody goes, oh, man, why don't you just hop on and go there? Speed does not stream every single day. When he travels, he does, but there's plenty of background and plenty of work that takes place off camera. He also has to make content. He has to do this kind of stuff and not consistently cover the news. You say this like you weren't streaming in Japan. No, I will. I will eventually do that. I'm working on it. I promise you, I'm working on it. I'm very, very, very happy that he's doing this, though, because I feel like this puts a dent in the endless faucet of misinformation about China for an entire generation. Like, this is unshakable. Like, showing the truth, showing how cool China is, that it's not just like some backwater peasant land where the buildings are built with tofu and whatever, is insane for the rest of the world, and especially Americans, to see. It's really good. It's a really good thing. If this wasn't incredibly important, I don't think that the State Department would be spending billions of dollars over the course of multiple decades showing the exact opposite.
This car can even turn by itself. Look, it can turn by itself. Hell no. It can turn by itself. I'm not even pressing nothing. Oh, did it just jump? Oh, hell no. Chad, hell no. Chad, these cars in China crazy, bro.
And he visited Cyberpunk City, Chongqing in China as well. I can see the jealousy in your eyes. I am. I'm envious. I am. He's living my dream. But also, it couldn't have happened to a better person. You know what I mean? He is the perfect vessel to deliver this message to an audience. He's apolitical. He doesn't read as a political person. He's pro-Palestine across the board. I go there, I get an endless sea of attacks being like, oh, he's doing promotional propaganda for China. Promotional propaganda for China. He's getting paid by the CCP. Chi-coms are paying him, that kind of thing. But because Ishowspeed is so popular and so outside of the sphere of politics that he gets to show it. He gets to show China in this unfiltered lens in ways that people can consume and appreciate.
China is crazy, yo. Look at this city. God damn. Like, how do you even build something like that? And a low-key in the future, bro. If y'all think about it. Low-key in the future.
Is China in the future, or is everywhere else just in the past?
Damn! Is China in the future, or is everywhere else in the past? Damn!
I don't know. 'Cause I never been to a fucking country where they have like stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's cyberpunk. It literally is cyberpunk. Ishowspeed went 100 meters underground in China only to end up on top of a skyscraper. How the fuck did y'all even make this? Speed was shocked. The stream really shows how underdeveloped the West looks compared to China.
This is the ground floor, right?
Right?
Turn around, take a look.
What the fuck?
I keep telling everyone, if we had a society of slave labor wages, we too could have amazing growth and development. Yeah, except America did have that, you fucking idiot. What are you talking about? What do you think chattel slavery was? And we still do. We still have slavery in our prison system. What are you talking about? We still have hyper exploitation in the form of undocumented migrants constantly coming to the country. It is not a matter of slave labor. It's a matter of central planning. That's it. It's about distributing the bounties rather than keeping it in the hands of a select few group of elites. That's what it is. These guys are so stupid. China was able to do this without enslaving people, without colonizing Africa. They did this without colonizing Africa. Same with the USSR. People constantly talk about the horrifying work conditions of the USSR or the famines of the USSR. And same with China. And they don't realize that collectivization happening like that inside of a country, a massive country like that, especially in comparison to their prior material conditions before revolutions, in comparison to where they were before the USSR was developed. And then Tibet, bro. Dude, you cannot compare Tibet to Africa and chattel slavery. Are you out of your mind? Please open one history book. Please, I beg you. I beg of you to understand. Same with the USSR. Words have to mean things, dude. You can't just be like, nope, well, what about Tibet? You can't just like make these comparisons. What are you talking about? Tibet under previous Chinese leadership, under the nationalists, and even prior to that, always had a special autonomous status where they did have slavery. That is before Mao. Tibet did have slavery before Mao. It's the exact opposite argument to make. It's so stupid. Talking about like the cultural erosion of Tibet and Tibetan culture aside, okay, because you can make a valid argument there. You can't make this comparison to American and Western colonialist expansion in Africa and chattel slavery specifically. It took 400 years and chattel slavery and endless colonies for the West to develop to the degree that they did, in comparison to the USSR and China that did it in a much shorter period of time with much less, without actually, enslaving people. These are not even remotely comparable instances. The USSR was at war from literally 1914 to 1922, and then again from 1939 to 1945. In that same time, their literacy rate almost doubled from 40 to 80%. Then they went on to challenge the global superpower after losing 20% of their population to put the first person into space. Exactly. They went from agrarian backwater potato farmers to outcompeting the American government to the space race to get to space before them. Yuri Gagarin. Like that is insane. That is an insane development for humanity. Okay, let's be serious. You don't have to be a USSR glazer or love Stalin to put some respect on that. If you were honest about it, you would recognize that for what it is. This picture really just illustrates the development of China over the last 5 decades, and now it's in one person's lifetime. That's the same dude. That's crazy. To be honest, you undermine the oppression Uyghurs undergo in Xinjiang. I'm not even trying to defend the West here or brush over China's development. No, I don't do that. I don't do that at all. It's just that anytime I say China, Uyghur, Xinjiang, China developed Uyghur, Xinjiang, I have to Uyghur, Xinjiang, mention Uyghur, Xinjiang every time I talk about China, Uyghur, Xinjiang. If I don't do that, then Americans go, what the f are you doing? I've never heard what you had to say, so you must love that shit. I don't. And I never have defended that practice at all, which is really weird because when I talk about, like, I don't know, the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, I don't have to go, Wisconsin, America, chattel slavery, indigenous genocide, Supreme Court race, American chattel slavery, indigenous genocide was a glaringly obvious victory. American chattel slavery, indigenous genocide, American constant third world exploitation, Iraq war, unjustifiable war on terror, $6 trillion, $7 trillion, millions of Iraqis dead was a handy defeat to Elon Musk. Do you see what I mean? Your expectation is I have to constantly slam that into every conversation. Otherwise, I'm not sufficiently objective for you, for your taste. Like when I talk about America or things that America does that's good, like due process, for example, I don't have to always talk about the metric ton of awful shit that takes place in modern American society and what has happened historically in American development. Do you understand? I can have a normal conversation. But your expectation, or many people's liberal preconditioning on this matter is you have to literally say, anytime you say China, you have to say Uyghur Xinjiang. Uyghur Xinjiang re-education camps. Uyghur Xinjiang re-education camps. China, Uyghur Xinjiang re-education camps was able to Uyghur Xinjiang re-education camps develop Uyghur Xinjiang re-education camps, high-speed rail, Uyghur Xinjiang re-education camps. That's how you want me to cover the story. Can't talk about Palestine and Palestinian development without constantly going, I condemn Hamas, I condemn Hamas, I condemn Hamas, I condemn Hamas. Was that sufficiently accurate reporting for your liberal taste? Do I have to do that every time? Henry Kissinger, NSA mass surveillance, Kent State. Church of Scientology, David Miscavige, Occupy Wall Street, May 4th, 1970 massacre, May 13th, 1985 move bombing, Red Summer, 1919 House Un-American Activities Committee, Trail of Tears, Jim Crow segregation, Human Rights, United Safety, high-speed rail, all to just say, I like due process in America, or I like the First Amendment in America. I have to say all of these things before I get there. If your expectation is not for me to do that, then it shouldn't be to constantly slam Uyghur Xinjiang every single time, like I'm doing a land acknowledgement. And this is precisely why I said Ishowspeed is the perfect person to showcase something that most Western media never shows, just average tier 1 city existence in China. That's why I said he's the perfect person to do it, not me. Because if I were to do it, they would be like, Uyghur Xinjiang re-education camps, Tibet, Taiwan, Chinese invasion of Vietnam, Chinese support for Khmer Rouge. They would be just like, Tiananmen Square. They'd be vomiting in the chat. Oh my God, I just realized it's literally Maoist standard English, but for libs. Yeah, it is. Liberals have their own Maoist standard English version, which is Uyghur Xinjiang, Tibet, Taiwan, Tiananmen Square, Khmer Rouge. Ironic, you can also say USA support for Khmer Rouge as well, but.
And chat, y'all know a funny story, and I'm not even capping. Every city in China looks exactly like this. Every city. Chat, not even the big ones look exactly like this. This is Chongqing Cyberpunk City in China. Let's go.
Switch.
Let's get that shot, baby.
Switch.
Oh my God. Look at this city! Oh my God! Yo, it looks nuts!
Tell them to come.
Oh my God! This is China!
Come to the car.
This is Chongqing, baby!
It's just crazy to think that, like, it's crazy to act like this is not insanely impressive. Like, shit that was considered a ghost city and dunked on and made fun of by Western media in perpetuity now is like a city that puts many Western capitals to shame. This is Chongqing 30 years ago versus today. Americans couldn't understand. Like that, dude, 30 years, dude. Come on. The saddest part about this is that with the exception of like some major American metropolitans, you could literally do this in reverse with most American areas of industry. If you did a 30-year snapshot of like Gary, Indiana or Detroit, you would see the reverse effect of this. I wonder what happened. Detroit in 1951 versus 2002. The major difference here is not like America was not unimaginably wealthy or grew its wealth in the past 30 years. They did. They kept growing their wealth. America just kept growing its wealth and did not actually redistribute it back to its citizens. That's the difference. China, on the other hand, took the wealth, toiled away endlessly, and then engaged in central planning and even development, rapid urbanization. That's the difference. This kind of wealth transfer has taken place in many countries. India is another example of this. But the reason why you can't make this exact same comparison with India is because India versus China, when you look at it, were both subjected to colonial exploit, but one was developed by a consistent, ideologically minded socialist movement that, to a certain degree, even though there were ups and downs, maintained that long-term interest in genuinely improving the material conditions of as many of its population as possible through central planning, versus India is neoliberal. Also, of course, China was not, yes, you're right. To be fair, China was not subject to the same kind of exploitation is correct. That is also, you're not wrong about that. India will eclipse China in 20 to 30 years, bro. You will see. I hope. Why would I say I hope it doesn't happen? I would love for India to eclipse China in 20 to 30 years. Except for that to happen, India would have to let Southern Indian communism take over the entire country, I think. rather than the fascist trajectory that it's been on for quite some time. There's too much division between Indians. I think there's a remnant of the caste system that plays a major role here that was accelerated through Western colonialist expansion as well. That was plays a significant role in Indian society. I mean, it's not a direct comparison. You can't make a direct comparison between India and China. I was just simply talking about like what you do with foreign capital matters, right? But wouldn't it be fair to say that China is also diverse? Yes, China is insanely diverse. It's really funny. People will be like, oh, what are you talking about? China is like 90% Han Chinese or whatever. And it's like, have you seen a Han Chinese person in the north versus a Han Chinese person in the south of China? They literally look like entirely different races of people. The average height is significantly higher in northern China as opposed to southern China. The skin color is different. The language is basically not decipherable from one another. It's like the dialects are different. The food is different. The culture is different. China is f***ing ginormous. Han Chinese is just simply a categorization of like, you're Chinese. It's like almost like a not an ethno-religious, but like a ethno-nationalist denomination. This is before you also move in. It's like saying white people in America. Or it's like white but Asian. No, it's like saying you're white in Europe. Yeah, 90% are Han Chinese, and 56 other ethnic groups are collectively referred to as the Chinese nation. Colonialism in India did not exacerbate caste. Caste is way older and way more prevalent. Colonialism in India absolutely exacerbated caste. Just because it preceded colonialism in India does not mean that colonialists exploited the pre-existing caste structure. Are you insane? No f***ing historian would agree with you. I know that the caste structure was not, I never said it was invented by colonialists. I said it was absolutely weaponized. You are f***ing wrong. You cannot find a single historian that would agree with that statement. Not only the British people used the caste structure to their advantage, Western colonialists have always utilized ethnic divisions when drawing national boundaries. They've literally considered those things. Look at Syria. Look at Lebanon. Look at Palestine. Glenn Greenwald responds to BRICS Info and says, China hasn't fought a war since 1979, and that was a 1-month border conflict. Amazing what a country can build and achieve when it's not draining its resources to constantly invade, bomb, and finance others' wars. It also connected its whole country with high-speed rail. And then Ryan Grimm retweeted and said, even if you look at the trillions the U.S. spent on wars, a smart way to control global oil supply, China instead spent the last 2 decades building a renewable energy industry. Doge AI, China's peaceful rise is a myth built on stolen tech, forced labor, and predatory loans, not efficiency. Yeah. It's so funny. Westerners, when talking about China, will literally make it seem like Chinese development came at the heels of things that we did in our history, but worse, even though they didn't do half as much evil shit as we did. It's just pure cope. And it's understandable. It's understandable to cope like this. You are so comfortable with the dominance of Western empire for your whole lifespan. And as accelerated neoliberalism has destroyed your living standards and potentially your future, you look to another country that is growing in the opposite direction and you go, there's got to be something else there. There's got to be something else there. Religion is holding the West back. No, it's not. What are you talking about? What? Religion is holding the West back. The West is not even remotely religious. What are you talking about? We have also experienced a decline in the Western world in the aftermath of the Cold War with accelerated neoliberalism. At the same time, people's religious attitudes, people openly being religious has gone down. The numbers of, what is the term? Is it religiosity? Is that the appropriate term here? Religiosity has gone down tremendously in that same time frame. If anything, if I were to look at if I had a faulty understanding of data, if I was a simple man doing a basic read, I would say that religiousness was helping the Western Empire grow. But of course, that's not the case either. Correlation is not causation.